Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of our Friday noon webinar series. We are delighted to be with you and delighted you have chosen to log in and watch us either on the Facebook live stream or on the webinar, or even perhaps you're watching it later. Today is Friday, February the 28th, and my name is Kamara Seals. I am the policy director here at the Arkansas Public Policy Panel. And today we have a guest, Rich Roy. And Rich is going to be talking about one of our legislative priorities. As you know, within the CFC, we have legislative priorities that our member groups elect every other year. And so one of the legislative priorities that was elected and that Rich and his group promote is the landlord tenant law. So we'll talk about that law. But first, let me just share a little bit about Rich. First of all, good afternoon, Rich.
Thank you. It's
Yeah.
wonderful to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, great. Glad you could be here. So let me just share with our viewers a little bit about Rich. So Rich has been active with the Arkansas Citizens First Congress since 2022. And he is on our leadership team serving as a member of our CFC steering committee. And he also is the co-chair of the Economic Justice Caucus. Rich has been actively engaged, looks like all of his life in some form or another, with nonprofit and different types of organizations. And he served with Heifer International, which was as a program financial assistance in the programs division of the Central and Eastern Europe program area. So, and he is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Little Rock, of which they are a member group of Citizens First Congress. And so, again, Rich, it's good to have you today. And we are going to talk about the importance of landlord tenant law. And I know you have been working with this. And let me just say also to our viewers, this has been a priority in years past for our organization. And there are different groups, and understand we are a coalition of organizations. We collaborate with other organizations because we know there's strength in numbers, and we know that organized people have power. And so it's been different groups who've taken the lead on it. But at this particular time in history, it's the Unitarian Universal Church of Little Rock, and Rich Roy is leading that charge. So let me just share with you uh, the brief summary, and then we'll get into the essence of this legislation. So the landlord tenant law provides for implied residential quality standards, which requires landlords to provide an available source of the necessities such as water, electricity, sanitary, sewer, and plumbing, functioning roof and building envelope, and functioning heat and air conditioning. Now, I know for some of us just listening to that, you would say, are you kidding? Do you have to have that in law for landlords to be able, for landlords to have to provide just the basic necessities? So, Rich, tell us, why are we here? Why are
We
we here at this point? Yeah.
we have a long history, and CFC has been wonderful to work with. Back a few years ago in 2021, we tried a major overhaul of landlord tenant reform law, and we're not successful with the major overhaul and reform. But we were fortunate at that time that we had some senators and representatives reach out to us, the group Arkansans for Stronger Communities, with some ideas that they thought would go a long way toward helping do some essential reforms. They gave us an opportunity to look at their proposed draft and offer amendments, which we did. They accepted many of them, and what resulted was not the language of a full warranty of habitability, but what they call the implied residential quality standards, which you mentioned, Camara. But that was essentially an excellent start. The only thing is they did not have a remedy for tenants if the landlord did not meet those requirements, and the only remedy was for the tenant to move out.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to look at that again, hopefully. And in so doing, we're talking about, I think, reasonable, responsible increments, not major improvements.
Right.
One of the things that we felt was needed in the implied residential quality standards was to add provisions for smoke alarms and for carbon monoxide detectors where there's a gas source there at the property, but where needed. That's not in the statute, but one good thing is our Arkansas Landlords Association currently includes smoke alarms and CO detectors with the normal disclaimers that they try to offer properties for let with all of those additional standards. So we're hoping that we can, supported by what they're already doing, make
Right.
this a part of the code, which it should be part of the code, not just as
Right.
an association only, I think. So
Right.
we've got that proposal, and then we've suggested that an additional remedy, appropriate remedy, would be if the tenant has documentation and feels the need, they can request the court. They can file issues with the court and request an injunction. And that, of course, that's dependent upon the court system working and the tenant bringing legitimate and serious complaints. And that's provided for in the language of our proposed reforms. And the last thing is, with all this going on, we did not have an anti-retaliation provision, and we're asking that where a tenant has a legitimate complaint that goes through the system, that the landlords don't retaliate just because the tenant did that when they had proper documentation. But
Right.
what they did in Act 1052 of 2021 was make some good essential steps forward. And quite frankly, we're relatively pleased about that. And we're just hopeful that these incremental issues, they talked about, there are more things need to be done, and these are basics that can be done. We don't know about whether doing it this time or not is going to work, given the circumstances with the legislature and everything going on politically. But nevertheless, we've set our work with CFC to, if we don't move forward successfully with our efforts in this session, we will come back and be ready for, and we'll work in the interim toward the General Assembly of 2027. And
Right.
I remain excited about it. And I know this has been an interesting General Assembly session so far. But if we can get a start on this, I will be pleased. I'm looking for feedback from several representatives I've reached out to.
Right.
I've observed and visited with people briefly at the state capitol, talked with some old people that helped out back in 2021. I visited with Senator Hickey, and I've reached out anew to Senator Davis from up in Russellville. We work with another representative in that area. So we're looking at bipartisan outreach, essentially, and let them know that that we hope to be able to file a bill and to be looking for that.
Right.
And so, always trying to be forthright and being respectful of conservative viewpoints.
Right, absolutely. So let me ask you a question. I want to back up to earlier when you were talking. So I understand there's Act 1052 of 2021.
Right,
Now that allowed for an implied residential quality of
right.
standards.
That's what established that, which
Right,
we never had before.
right. So we've got the quality of standards, but there's no enforcement of those standards. Is that correct? For
Well,
landlords.
yes, yeah, it is. That's the normal process. It's just that a tenant under the law now only has he can move out if he
Yeah.
can't get anything fixed. His only remedy is to leave on his own.
And so
Is
that's
the
what I
way
want.
around.
That's what I want to address. And I want
Okay,
to explain to the viewers, um, because just moving out, let's say you've been in an apartment, or not apartment,
yeah,
renting a house,
house,
renting the
yeah,
house,
right,
yeah, for 3 or 4 years or 5 or 6 years. uh it's almost an insult to say move out because I'm not going to fix this. Number one, financially, it's just not easy to pick up and relocate.
absolutely true.
So I just want people to understand, because some people will look at that as they have an option. Yeah, you have an option, but is it financially sound?
Correct.
Because moving, relocating, it costs money to do that. I mean, it doesn't matter if you move in from a house on this street to a house 2 streets over. There's still costs, there's upfront costs, there's moving costs.
Correct.
It's inconvenient, and there's just so many factors. Because I've heard people say this, well, if they won't fix the running water, if they won't fix the boards and the floors, just
Right.
move. Well, people can't just move.
Correct.
And so it creates those types of obstacles. So that's one point I wanted to make. So I know that we're pleased to have the implied residential quality standards, but like I say, there's the only option for things to that if it doesn't go well, if you've got a leaking roof, nobody wants to live in a home that has a leaking roof. So, and
Right.
again, moving has all of these creates obstacles. And then, but let me ask you this, because I believe Arkansas, because I want you to talk about the difference in the Implied Residential Quality Standards Act as opposed to an implied warranty of habitability.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because Arkansas,
Right.
understanding, correct
Yeah.
me if I'm wrong, Arkansas is the only state that does not have an implied warranty of
Full
habitability.
warranty of habitability. Yes.
Now tell
We,
the
we, we are,
viewers
we are still
what
there.
that, okay.
And we have, from years ago, when the act was first formed, only the landlord side of the model act was accepted in Arkansas. There were no good provisions at all for renter tenants. So that's been worked on over the years. And as I say, in 2021, what happened. It fell short of a full warranty of habitability because the tenants didn't have remedies, didn't have anti-retaliation clauses, didn't have a provision to get things fixed through working with the court system, for example. So what we're adding, we hope, will make for essential requirements closer to a full warranty of habitability, not with extensive detailed pages of legislation, but focusing on the specifics of smoke alarms, uh, CO detectors. That's supported by the Landlord Tenant Association,
Right.
the Arkansas Landlords Association, and adding the provision for a tenant may have as a remedy, if this is approved, that they can, with data and documentation,
Hmm.
seek an injunction through the court system. And that's set up where real needs are addressed by the tenant, not just some tenant that might be a bad actor.
Right.
It provides a balance there to the data needs to show that, and the court would decide that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the landlord would reasonably understand and appreciate that that's well balanced, because having a safe, habitable property is
Mm-hmm.
good for the landlord or any
Right.
tenant, the whole neighborhood. Uh, what you were talking about a while ago, when there's some things about uh, moving from a school system, you have to change your kid's school system. Uh,
Right.
all of those things that adds up to not only cost money wise, but there's all kinds of stressors in moving
Mm-hmm.
your kid from a school district. Your children have friends in their own environment
Right.
and then you have to uproot them because your only remedy is to move out if you can't
Right.
get something fixed where it needs to be more healthy. So
Right. Yeah, and
there's a
that
lot
can,
of things like that that we're hoping that these increments,
right.
basic, essential, reasonable steps will get us closer to where we need to be
Right.
in practice.
Right. Absolutely. Well, that's good. I applaud you all for continuing the fight, because this has been a long fight.
It
Uh,
has been.
yeah. So let's let's share with us who are who are the opponents to this, because the way we look at this, no one should be denied decent housing. I mean, they're paying rent, should
Correct.
be denied decent housing, running water, leaks in their roof when it rains,
Right.
no heating and air. There are just some things, that just are not acceptable. So who's opposing this legislation?
Historically, to my knowledge, and I don't say this as a trained attorney. I'm not.
Right, I
I've
understand.
been a citizen advocate, but I've worked with several who have been involved in this and are still involved in it with our various legal centers and
Mhm.
operations. Um, Traditionally, the landlords association itself, Arkansas Realtors
Right.
have been had been in the past. Interestingly enough, when Senators Dismang and then Representative Hawks presented what became Act 1052, I'm bad with numbers, when it became the Act of 2021, um, they I lost the exact train of thought there. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I was because I've been so focused on avoiding language that disrupts the realtors. When
Right.
we got to that point of working those essentials, that I'm glad we got that done. That we got halfway there. Say
Right.
they became, quote, officially neutral on
Uh-huh.
that deal. They did not fight that because it was reasonable, incremental, and understandable, and really basic. And it ties landlords reasonably too. They also have to meet whichever code is most strict. If they have a local building and housing code in their locality, the landlord needs to meet that, even though
Hmm.
it's more than what's in our law. And like I say, I think our implied residential quality standards are basically very comprehensive.
Yeah.
I'll state that.
Okay.
So that was that's where I'm hoping that again, incremental steps,
Right.
balanced and reasonable, that we think they are,
Right.
would be acceptable with these additional technically restrictions. I've been a property manager. I've been a tenant,
Uh-huh.
both, and at the same time,
Right.
I've had tenants who are late on rent payments, and I've had the stresses of being a property manager for a
Mhm.
brief amount of time, but
Right.
I've been there, done that. I understand being a good landlord. I understand
Right.
having issues. Sometimes I wasn't a very nice landlord, but I've had I've my experience has been uh, uh, good. I say I had good
Yeah.
landlords.
Well, yeah,
and had limited bad experience, and it just happened to be late on rent payments when I was trying to
right,
be a property manager.
right.
Not
Yeah,
not extensive experience there, but I had the experience, and I'm proud of the story and proud of the experience, and gives me a hope, some understanding of what it's like to be a
right.
landlord. And
Yeah,
it was for a small amount of properties,
right,
or living units. And
right,
one of the things that we've always been supportive of is understanding and appreciating that some of the mom and pop folks had saved up all the houses they lived in, so they had
hmm,
some rental income and retirement income. We don't want to layer any more, don't want them layered up with more regulations. So
right. Well, we need,
we're very sensitive to that too. Let me say
right.
that.
Right. Well, I understand that, but we do not need slum landlords. And I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say
Okay.
it because I can say it like that.
Okay.
And we need people who who take pride in their property. You know,
True.
I have rented a house before, and I am a landlord. I have property
Yep.
that I rent, but I take good pride in
Yep. Yep.
my property that I own, and I treat my renters right. And you know, it's just, some of the things we've seen over the years, uh, where people are renting property is just unconscionable that they live in those conditions. And but I do want to lift up the point, this fight shouldn't be as hard as it is.
Mhm.
It should not be this hard. This has been going on and on and on. We should not have this big a fight in the state of Arkansas to
Right.
get an implied warranty of habitability. It's a disgrace. Uh, but on the other hand, we have a lot of elected state legislators who are landlords, and they control the policy. And so, well, they make the votes. We have a voice as people. Let me correct that. We have a voice, and we're fighting. But I think I think it's very telling, and I know you don't want to get into that part of this. I
Well,
respect.
understand and appreciate that.
Yeah, I
That's
understand
reality. Yeah.
you're far more mild than I am and tolerant when it comes to that. So this is Camara saying this as a landlord. I can say that, but it is disturbing. But you all have a good plan, a solid plan. I know you are hoping for bipartisan support. And I think the way you all are moving with this in small increments will probably get us to where we want to go. It's just taken a while,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
think
We,
it will get
yeah.
us
Those of us that have been advocates for a long time and I still get frustrated, but have accepted that I need to think about this as the long haul, the long
right.
run.
It's the
So
long
we're in
game.
it for the
We're in the
long
long
run.
run.
We'll take incremental steps as
Right.
because oftentimes it's a valuable way to approach things. Try
Uh-huh.
to you don't swallow the apple. You take small you
Small
swallow
bites.
the small
Right.
bites.
Right.
Yeah,
Let me
let
let
me
me
wrap up
hold
on
on
something here.
wait 1 second before you wrap up. Let's allow
Oh,
for any
sure.
questions. If there are people watching by Facebook Live at the moment, if you have a question, put it in. We want to try to get to maybe a couple of questions.
We'd be
Uh,
glad to answer or try
yeah,
to answer. Thank you.
right. And if you are watching on the Zoom or the Zoom webinar, I guess you can put it in the chat. I know Brady is watching to make sure we get any questions. So if you have a question or comment, now is the time to put that in the chat. Okay.
Yeah,
Before you
I was
wrap
just
up,
wanting to
but wait,
emphasize for everybody, it's good for them to hear. I think these reforms promote a fairness and balance in the landlord-tenant relationship. They're,
mhm,
they they present mutual benefits to both landlord and tenant. They're clear, and tried to be very conscious about the proper language. And the point being to ensure that landlords and tenants can thrive, because that's
Right.
where we want to be, and that's where fairness and balance comes in. And anyway,
Great. Well, thank you so much, Rich. That was a really good ending. Hey, I was trying to get a few more questions in before
oh
you
yeah, well, yeah, I'm
ended.
ready for
No, 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 no.
anybody.
It's okay. I don't, like I said, I don't see any questions, and
Okay,
I don't see any questions in the chat. I mean, no, I hadn't received any. But let's do this before we end. We want people to know how to be involved. We want people to know how to be actively engaged. And we want people to who desire to make sure they allow their voices to be heard, and not just on this topic, on any
right,
topic. And so I want to stress to the viewers, to voters, that the capital is your capital. This process of democracy belongs to all of us. Advocacy is yours to advocate for whatever it is you want to advocate for. I want to encourage you to go to our website, our Citizens First Congress, which is Citizens First at one second. I should
yeah.
know that. Uh,
Citizens First Congress at or .org, or
yeah.
something close to that.
Wait, just a second. I've got it here. Hold on one second. I don't want to.
I've got it all on
Hey, as
my
well as I
computer. I don't
know
have
it.
to hunt for
Oh, here, okay, here it is.
it.
Okay, so we're at citizensfirst.org. That's our website. Citizensfirst.org is our website. You can go to our website, and we have a legislative directory that you can find all of the legislative committees. You can find your House legislators, your Senate legislators, their phone numbers, email addresses. It is a wealth of knowledge, and you can find maps. You can find the maps to committees, where they represent. This is the cover of it. Yeah, this is okay. My screen is on blur, so you can't really see it too well, but that's the cover of it. And it's still kind of hot off the press. We just got it last week. And so we want people to utilize it. And we also want to draw your attention to the phone numbers that are at the beginning, because when legislators are in session, there is a phone number you can call to leave a message. It's the message board. And there is a number for House legislators, and there is a number for Senate legislators. Those numbers and contact information are on page 2 of this book. So again, if you want to go to our website, it's citizensfirst.org. And you can follow, you can go to the website to sign up for our newsletter. We during the legislative session, a lot goes on, a lot is happening. But you can go there to sign up for our newsletter. Heather does a phenomenal job with our newsletter alert. Goes out every Friday morning during the legislative session. And so just ways you can be connected, you can be involved, and you can follow us on Facebook uh, and Instagram. So you can definitely be connected. Let your voice be heard on this topic of housing, tenant landlord laws, or any topic that you're interested in. So just wanted to give that shout out about our
Me too.
legislative
I'd
director.
like to, supplement that.
Yeah, go
The
ahead.
Newsweek alerts give us good calls to action when necessary, and
Right.
they address the bills that are of concern that we need to advocate for or against. And I think we offer some basic talking points to help you as you reach out, and we encourage you to take advantage of that and add your own personal stories and comments to the talking point ideas, and and be proactive in contacting your legislators. And it's I've gotten over. I don't worry about it anymore. They can't hurt me over the phone
Right.
or the email.
Absolutely.
And
Right.
especially when you talk directly to your own elected senator or
Mhm.
representative. I don't call people in South Arkansas and tell them what to do. Not a legislator, but friends. I encourage all our
Right.
friends to do
Right.
so from your perspective, and take advantage of these great newsletter alerts
Right.
that talk about the bills. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you so much, Rich. Well, it's been great interviewing you and just having this
Yeah.
conversation about tenant landlord laws. And we wish you much success this session. Of course, I'm saying that like I'm not a part of it, but you all are the lead and we are
Well,
support.
we'll stick with it and
Yeah,
be there when if we get a chance to testify, we'll be we'll be there.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I don't
Thank
see
you.
any questions, so we're going to wrap up. Again, Rich Roy with the Universal Unitarian Church of Little Rock. Did I get that right?
Unitarian Universalist. Yeah,
Unitarian
yeah,
Universal
yeah.
Church of
Yeah,
Little Rock.
thank you.
He
Thank
is a
you.
member, an active
Yeah,
member of
yeah.
Citizens First Congress. So thank you so much. And we'll talk again soon.
Okay. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you, Kamira.
Thank you. Bye-bye.